Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to talk to you about the Women's March for Inequality. Without further ado, let me begin. All right. Let's start at the beginning here. The way I see it, way more rights than men do. And so a women's march is a march for what they think that they don't have. But every time there's a study done about it, they are proven wrong. I will bust out some stats, some statistics, some facts. With what they say is all about. This is from Mission and Vision. Mission and Vision, we stand together in solidarity with our partners and children for the protection of our rights, our safety, our health, and our families. They mean women. Recognizing that our vibrant and diverse communities are the strength of our country. Our mission, the rhetoric of the past cycle, the election cycle, has insulted, demonized, and threatened many of us, immigrants of all statuses, Muslims, and those of diverse religious faiths, identify as LGBTQIA, Native people, Black and Brown people, people with disabilities, survivors of sexual assault. I'm a person with disability that sure as fuck weren't advocating for me. Our communities are hurting and scared with the question of how to move forward in the face of national and international concern and fear. It is the spirit of democracy. There wouldn't have been the inaugural, right? They obviously don't honor democracy and honoring the champions of human rights, dignity, and justice who have come before us. We join in diversity to show our presence in numbers too great to ignore. The Women's March in Washington will send a bold message to our new government on their first day in office. The world that women's rights are humans' rights. Recognizing that defending the most marginalized among us is defending all of us. Yet, I will prove to you that men are the most marginalized among all of us in America. We are not advocated for by them, which is why I say it's a march for inequality. We support the advocacy and resistance movements that reflect our multiple and intersecting identities. We can defenders of human rights to join us. We call on all, sorry. This is the first step towards unifying our communities, grounding in new relationships to create change. Up. We will not rest until women have parity and equity at all levels of leadership in society. Of leadership, they don't want to work in the sewers or be construction workers. There's a 13-to-1 on the job death gap. They aren't advocating for any of those bullshit jobs, for no dirty jobs, for no heavy jobs, for no hard jobs, for no dangerous jobs. They want there has to be equal women. Well, women can vote, you know. So if that's what they want, they could have elected them. Amazing that they only want women who see exactly what they do. You know, Sarah Palin, they don't want that woman. No, hell no, right? They want that. They want that woman. Yeah, I'm not sure if she is a woman, to be perfectly honest with you. We work peacefully while recognizing there is no true peace without justice and equity for all. Yeah, really? I'm just going to skip here. I believe that's women's rights are human rights, regardless of a woman's race, ethnicity, religion, immigration status, sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, age, or disability. We practice empathy with the intent to learn about the intersecting identities of each other. We will suspend our first judgment and do our best to lead without ego. We follow the principles of Kingian nonviolence, which are defined as follows. I don't give a fuck about their principles. Their principles are bullshit. Principles are bullshit. I'd like to start out by saying one of the things that they addressed was that they don't have equal pay, which has been repeatedly debunked so many fucking times ad nauseum. It is unbelievable signed in 3 times. In 1963, I believe it was 1970, yeah, 1970, and then again, Obama signed new Equal Pay Act in, as soon as this comes up here, I don't know what the hell's going on. This was just a couple years ago. Yeah, 2020, yeah, last year. So, full pay act has been signed in, and here, well, it's been signed in because they still didn't fix it. No, they signed it in because women will not, or women, I should say, feminists will not stop with this myth about equal pay. No matter how many times they're proven that there is not a pay gap, there's an earnings gap. Understand the difference between earnings and wages, right? Wages are how much you get paid. That is equal. If they could prove that, any lawyer on this planet would love to take their fucking case. They can't even come up with a single fucking example because that shit don't exist. Now, there is an earnings gap because they don't work as many hours. They don't work in the difficulty of jobs. They choose different careers. They choose many times to stay home, to work less years, to stay home and raise their children. They're choosing these things. The idea is that they should get paid as much as men who are dying on the fucking job, have the hardest goddamn jobs in the world, and meanwhile they're sitting at fucking home like they do with alimony and every goddamn thing else. You know, children, men have 0 reproductive rights. We have 0 choices to make. 0. Yet you wouldn't know it by the court system, right? Because all they talk about is, you know, how women should get alimony, women should get the children, women should get child support. If men don't pay, they're deadbeat dads. Women have 3 ways right off the bat to not have children. I'll get to this in a minute. There is an enormous gap in federal criminal sentencing. It's insane. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but I'm going to let my favorite feminist tell you all about it.
Defendant than a man for the same crime and with a similar criminal history, states are imprisoned much more frequently and for much longer sentences. And this is one gender gap that we hear very little about. Actual feminist. Now, we incarcerate people in the United States on a scale unheard of in most parts of the world. If you brought together all of those who are now in prison parole, it would constitute like the 2nd largest city in the nation, and it would be close to 90% male. Now, the fact that more men than women go to jail, that in itself is not a sign of discrimination. Men are far more likely to be rule breakers, risk takers, and perpetrators of crime. This is true cross-culturally. But what happens when men and women are arrested for the same crime? Well, to answer that question, Professor Sonia Starr at the University of Michigan Law School, she examined a huge database of federal criminal cases. Now, unlike other studies that looked only at sentencing stage, she followed the fate of defendants from arrest through sentencing. All right, shocking. I mean, after controlling for the arrest offense and criminal history and other relevant factors, and looking at the process from beginning to end, she found that women are significantly more likely than men to avoid charges, to avoid convictions completely. And they are twice as likely to avoid incarceration if convicted.
That's the article I just
had.
On
average, men receive about 63% longer sentences.
63%
for the same crime.
Same crime.
Now, Professor Starr estimates that the gender gap in sentencing is as large as the sentencing gap between black and white defendants. Now, Starr offers a few possible explanations for the gender disparity. Women are often.
I don't think we need to hear all the rest. I think that makes my point just fine. We live in a culture in which men are constantly demonized, and women are constantly have excuses made for them. Rights women have that men do not. I apologize for this. I accidentally clicked off of it. There we are. Now, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of rights that women have that men do not. Women have the right to genital integrity. We don't have female genital mutilation in our culture. We do have it under Sharia, even though those feminists are advocating for Islam, which I never understood the partnership between Islam and feminism. You know, they say we live in a rape culture. Meanwhile, they actually partner up with a real fucking rape culture. That's ridiculous. And many feminists say, but we like dick circumcised. Like fucking shudder to cut that shit off, especially when you're a goddamn baby. Fuck anyone with that mentality, yo. That is a bullshit way to look at things. And just the fact that that's how they argue, we like them better without fucking flappy skin on the end. We like fucking snatches without flaps on that shit too. Cut that shit off then. That would be equal. Women have the right to vote with the green tie. Talking about the draft. Men do not have the right to vote without signing up for the draft. Women ain't trying to get that. They are not advocating for that equality, are they? Fuck no, they aren't. Not only that, but I believe that you have to sign up for the draft to even go to college if you're a man. Women have the right to choose parenthood. This is what I was going to get to. Women can take, obviously there's condoms, pill, and she's the only one by law that has any choice. You know, you always hear this, my body, my choice, right? Not a dude's choice to be a parent. If a woman doesn't want to be a parent, we say that's fine. We approach choice here. But if a man doesn't want to be a parent, they call him a deadbeat dad. Never asking whether or not he had a fucking choice, he had any say-so whatsoever. All that before he fucked them. And how many cases do we hear about every year with bitches straight sperm jacking dudes? Rich dudes. I mean, bitches say they can't get pregnant. Every excuse in the book. Every dude on this planet who's ever kicked it with a chick knows what's up. Women have the right to be assumed competent caregivers for children. The courts automatically assume women are the natural caregivers and men are not. And so they automatically will more than likely give rights of the parent to be a parent to the female, take away children from the male, whether he wanted them, whether she did, doesn't matter. If she fights for it, which a lot of times they do out of spite, she will more than likely get it, unless the dude is a fucking millionaire and he can afford heavy lawyers. Women have the right to call unwanted, coerced sex rape. And I'll get to this one in a second here, because I have stuff to say, especially about that one. There are at least 7 more legal rights women have that men don't. Women have the right to lower jail sentences, the sentencing gap. I already talked about that. Women have the right to be assumed, not to be assumed, sexual predators. And that kind of touches on the parental rights thing. I don't know why that's connected like that. It's proven that women are a sexual assault at nearly the exact same rate as men do. I'll show you that in a minute here. And they molest children. They do everything. You know, they always mention this phrase, toxic masculinity. Okay, well, I'll accept that if you accept toxic femininity. There ain't no dudes throwing no babies into dumpsters, right? There ain't no dudes drowning their kids in bathtubs. These are all female things. Women are poisoners when they murder, right? You know, when 2 people break up, when's the last time you seen a dude trash a woman's stuff? Oh, never? Yeah, me neither. I can't think of a single fucking case, but yet how many videos, just think for a second, have you seen where 2 people break up and the woman destroys the man's house, his car, all his clothes, everything he owns? If a man did that, he'd be in fucking prison. But we can't even really go to the police about shit like that. You know, that's one of the problems. Be trusted when they, like, a woman can cause domestic violence, which they are almost a perfectly equal domestic violence between men and women, who starts it and who throws punches and shit. And yet a man is way more likely to be arrested when they're called, even if the man was abused. There are so many cases of a man getting abused, him calling the police, and him getting arrested, that it absolutely breaks my motherfucking heart. And if it doesn't break yours, guess what? You're not for equality, you're for inequality, and you're a fuck-ass, punk-ass bitch, and you can fucking die. Fuck you. Women have the right to government departments that solely serve their interests. Yeah, lots. Office of Violence Against Women, nothing for men. Ministry for Women, there's all sorts. I mean, oh my God. Everyone wearing pink bracelets. No one got arrested yesterday at the Women's March. Doesn't mean anything bad happened. It just means that women are way less likely to get arrested for anything. I mean, look how many videos there are of women hitting men in public that they don't even know. If a man hit that woman in public, not only would there be 50 dudes white knighting for that chick, but he would be arrested and the fucking key thrown away on his ass so fucking quick. But when a woman does it, it's perfectly fine. I'm tired of this bullshit. Women have the right to government-enforced gender quotas. Yes, like there has to be a certain number of women hired at different jobs, and I mean, there's a big gap in. I don't think this one's even talked about in here. There's a big gap in the amount of college graduates and college students. 70% of college students are female, and the majority of college graduates are female, obviously, and that's because they're way more likely to get grants, to get sorts of ways supported for them to go to college. The men are just not. We have to make our own way in this world. Women have the right to exclusive tax benefits for being a business owner. I don't know anything about that, but if you want to know more about it, it's right here. Women have the right to domestic violence shelters. Yeah. There's only, look it up, there's only like one domestic violence shelter in America. And guess who was fighting to make that not possible? Feminists. Yeah, they're against it. Matter of fact, they're against almost everything on this fucking list. If you look it up, I'm not going to bother going into all that. It'd take too much fucking time. But if you look any of this bullshit up, you will see that point after point, feminists have been fighting for inequality. They've been fighting to make sure that men don't have it like how they have it. And that's why they're a march for inequality. Women have the right to not be assumed the primary aggressor in a domestic dispute. I already covered this, but there you have it. And at that Women's March for Equality, did you hear any of that? Nah, neither did I. You hear 1 in 5 rape statistic talked about all the fucking time, no matter how many times it's proven bullshit. Well, check this out. More men are raped in the U.S. than women, according to the figures that include sexual abuse in prisons. When they get their figures, they're not including prison rapes. And there's this common saying, usually by women, and I'm sure you've heard this before, you'll recognize it as soon as it comes out of my face. And that is, they'll see a man do, you'll hear on the news, some man did something, right? Like some man beat up some chick. And what, it's fucked up, you know, I'm not advocating that that's right, but women are usually the ones to say this, and they'll say, I hope he gets raped in prison. Now let me ask you, what crime could a woman be guilty of where you would feel justified in saying that she should be raped because she did that crime? That is not how a civil society works, right? Like if they're in prison, they're already being punished for their crime. They don't have a life now. Their quality of life is like zero, yo. Like zero. They don't need to be raped. They probably will be raped anyway, right? But this idea that it's permissible when they did something bad, but there is no crime where you would think that was permissible to a woman. And that is how they are fighting for inequality. It was estimated 216,000 inmates are sexually assaulted while serving time, according to the Department of Justice figures. That is compared to the 90,000 rape cases outside of prison. So you see that? I mean, it's more than double of rape cases outside of prison. So every point that they're supposedly fighting for, equal pay, no, they don't want equal pay. They want all the best jobs and the same earnings for less hours. That's what the fuck they want. Let me tell you a little bit about the workplace. 13-1, yo. 13-1. And when has any feminist ever advocated to change that shit? When has any feminist advocated to be sewage workers, construction workers up on the top of a goddamn skyscraper beam, building bridges, building every goddamn thing in this world that men have built and men maintain and men do every fucking thing? But women want to just sit back and take the best jobs now that men fucking built them. Well, I'm for women having equal jobs, equal pay. I'm for women having every equal right. I'm for everyone having every equal right. But I'm not for people advocating for inequity. And I believe that is exactly what's happening. And I'm shining a fucking spotlight on that bullshit. And you're hearing it right out of the horse's fucking mouth. That's about all I have to say on this. There's a whole lot more that I could go into, but I'm trying to save you guys. Maybe I'll do a series. I don't fucking know. But just so you know, there is so much more to talk about. It's insulting, yo. Till next time, I've been Socrates. Peace.